Most people think Gen X chose to be independent. They didn't. They were left alone early enough that needing someone started to feel like weakness. Psychologists call this a survival adaptation. It kept you functioning, but it also kept you alone. Even in a room full of people who love you, even when someone is standing right there, offering help, something inside still says, handle it yourself. That voice isn't strength. It's an old wound, still doing its job. My name is David, and psychology explains exactly where it came from and what it's been costing you. The front door opens. No voices, no questions, just the sound of your own keys hitting the kitchen counter. No one asks how your day was. No one is there to ask. You drop your bag. You find something to eat. You figure it out. You were maybe 10 years old, maybe 11, and without anyone telling you, you learned something that day. Something that would stay with you for the next 40 years. I am on my own. This was the Gen X childhood for millions of American kids. Not because their parents didn't love them, but because the world had changed and nobody had a map for it. Divorce rates had doubled. Both parents were working. Aftercare didn't exist the way it does now. So the kids came home to quiet houses. And quiet houses taught quiet lessons. You don't wait for help. You don't ask for what isn't coming. You handle it and you move on. That wasn't weakness. That was survival. But survival always has a price. And Gen X has been paying it quietly ever since. Here is what most people don't know. When a child consistently learns that help isn't coming, the brain doesn't just adapt in the moment. It rewires permanently. Psychologist John Bowlby spent decades studying what happens to children who learn too early that depending on others is unsafe. He called it compulsive self-reliance. Not a choice, not a personality trait, a survival response, built by a nervous system that was simply doing its job. The child doesn't decide to stop needing people. The child's brain quietly concludes, needing people leads to disappointment, so stop needing them. And so they did. They became the kids who didn't cry when they got hurt, the teenagers who never told anyone what was really going on, the adults who say, I'm fine, even when everything is not fine, not because they are strong, because somewhere very early, their brain decided that showing need was dangerous, and that decision never got updated. Here is where it gets complicated, because that survival response, over time, didn't stay a response. It became a reputation. People around you noticed. They always figured out. They never complain. They don't need much. And at first, that felt good, to be seen as capable, as solid, as the one people could count on. But then something shifted. Eventually, people stopped calling you independent. You started calling yourself that. It stopped being something you did and became something you were. I am self-reliant. That's just who I am. And once it becomes identity, it becomes almost impossible to question. Because questioning it doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It feels like losing yourself. So you held on to it through exhaustion, through loneliness, through every moment someone offered help. And you said no, not because you didn't need it, because you had forgotten that needing it was allowed. This is the part nobody says out loud. Self-reliance costs something. It costs something every single day. Someone offers to help you carry something heavy. You say, I've got it. Someone says, you look tired, let me handle this. You say, I'm fine. Someone wraps their arms around you after a hard week, and instead of relaxing, your shoulders tense. Because somewhere inside, you're still waiting for it to go wrong. Still waiting for the moment they leave. Still protecting yourself from a disappointment that may never come. And then there are the words. Someone says, you don't have to do this alone. And something inside immediately, automatically replies, yes, I do. You didn't choose that reply. It came before thought, before feeling. It came from somewhere much older than this moment. That is not strength talking. That is a child, still standing in a quiet house, still convinced that no one is coming. Let's talk about the brain for a moment, not in complicated terms. Just the truth of what happens. The brain repeats what once kept you safe. That's it. That's the whole mechanism. When you were young, self-sufficiency kept you emotionally safe. Needing people led to silence. to absence, to waiting that went nowhere. So your brain logged it, depending on others, unsafe, handling it yourself, safe. And brains are loyal to those logs. Decades later, even when the situation has completely changed, even when the person in front of you is trustworthy, even when the help being offered is genuine, your nervous system fires the same old warning. Don't ask, don't need, don't risk it. This is why asking for help feels like more than discomfort. It feels like danger. It feels like exposure. It feels irrationally, powerfully like failure. Not because you are broken, because you are running software that was written 40 years ago by a child who had no other option. This is the part that hurts most, because it didn't stay inside you. It followed you into every relationship you ever had. There was a partner, maybe there still is, who tried to get close, who asked more than once, "Why don't you ever tell me what you're feeling?" And you said, "I'm fine." They weren't wrong to ask, and you weren't lying when you answered. You just, somewhere along the way, stopped believing that telling anyone would actually help. So you carried it. You always carried it. There were friends who offered repeatedly and heard no so many times they quietly stopped asking. Not because they stopped caring, because they didn't know how to reach you anymore. There were children who watched you handle everything alone and learned, without a single word being spoken, that this is what strength looks like, that you don't ask, that you manage, that you carry it yourself. They learned it from you the way you learned it from an empty house. They weren't lying when they said they were fine. They just stopped believing anyone could help. Here is what psychology actually says about strength. Real strength, measurable, documented, research-backed strength, is not the ability to need nothing. It is the ability to be vulnerable with the right people. People who can ask for help, who can receive it, accept it, let it land, are more resilient, more connected, more able to recover from difficulty, not weaker, stronger. You have spent a lifetime proving you can survive without support. That is not nothing. That is extraordinary. But survival and living are not the same thing. Survival built your walls. Healing builds your doors. And the door doesn't erase the wall. It just means, finally, you get to choose who comes in. One day, you will reach for the grocery bags. All of them, the way you always do. And someone beside you will quietly take half. Let them. Don't pull the bags back. Don't say I've got it. Just let them carry the weight. Not because you can't. You can. You always could. But because you no longer have to. That voice inside, the one that says handle it yourself, it was never really yours. It belonged to a child who had no choice. A child who stood in a quiet house and made the only decision available to them. And that child did something remarkable. They kept going. They built a life from scratch without a blueprint. They became someone their younger self would be in awe of. But that child is not in charge anymore. You are, and you are strong enough now to let someone in. Strong enough to say, I could use some help. Strong enough to let the answer be, yes,